This video was sponsored by Film Supply Club. I'm back from my trip to Milwaukee. I'm still wearing this puffer because it is really comfortable, and it was pouring rain in Los Angeles up until about half an hour ago. My girlfriend bought this for me from Uniqlo, and I never owned a puffer jacket before, but now I get it. I really, really get it. Really lightweight, really comfortable, but super, super warm. Even though I do kind of look like a tech CEO wearing it. Today I am drinking a London Fog, which is super delicious. And for those of you who don't know what it is Earl Grey tea with steamed and foamed milk and a little bit of like honey or simple syrup. I made a homemade turbinado vanilla simple syrup. It's really delicious. For those of you who've been paying attention, yeah, I'm really onto tea right now. Tea's really doing it for me. I'm still drinking coffee, but I'm really having fun with tea recently. Today I'm recording this. It's the 10th, which means my birthday is in 10 days. I just got back last night, flew into LAX. I'm a little bit reverse jet lagged or regular jet lagged. I woke up really early this morning because I'm still on Milwaukee time, which is only like 2 hours ahead. I've been very productive today. Who cares what I've been doing today? Let's talk about this trip. So we drove from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, then on to Albuquerque, then to Oklahoma City, then to St. Louis, and then finally Milwaukee. On the outset of this trip, I decided to turn it into a project documenting a trip across the United States during a pandemic. But, you know, the pandemic wasn't really the focus of this road trip. It was just kind of a way to force myself to shoot a bunch of film and not bring any digital cameras along and just kind of look around me and document it. I shot about 26 or 28 rolls of film, most in medium format. This is all my exposed film. For those of you who might be out there freaking out, I made sure I taped all of these with some tape, some clear tape, so they won't accidentally unravel. And since I'm processing all this film by myself at home, I didn't really mind taping it up to make sure it didn't unravel. So the vast majority of the film that I shot on this trip was Portra 400. I also shot some Lomo 800 and 400. I shot one roll of Acros 2. I shot some Superior, 35 millimeter, obviously. I shot a couple rolls of Portra 160 and a roll or two of Fuji Pro 400H. One random roll of Ektachrome. I shot one 35 millimeter roll of T-Max 400, and then I also shot something that was in my film fridge I've been saving for a long time that I decided to start shooting some of, which is Fuji Industrial 400, which is my favorite color negative film, is no longer in production. This is expired by, I think, 2 years. But yeah, in the end, I think I shot 26 or 28 rolls. I can't remember because I didn't remember to count it all. But they're all labeled. Some of them are pushed. Most of them are overexposed, but some of them are pushed. And I'm really excited to see how this goes. I did consider sending all of this film out to a lab and partnering with a lab to get all this processed and to make this project. But I thought that if I'm going to shoot this whole thing in film and I'm going to make this whole effort to be film focused, why don't I just process this film myself like I always do? That's what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to process all this film. Usually I use a 3-reel Patterson tank, but I realized it's going to take quite a bit of time to process all this film by hand. So I decided to get this Patterson, I guess this is the 5-reel. which will process 3 reels of 120 at once, which is still not enough. It's not enough for me. So I figured out, and by figured out, I mean I read online, that you can spool 2 rolls of 120 film onto these reels if you're careful and know how to do it. Apparently there's been people that have been doing that forever. I had no idea that was a thing, and if I did, I would have been doing that for so long. But I'm going to be doing 6 rolls of 120 at a time in this tank, which is pretty cool. So this takes 2 liters just about, or about half a gallon of chemistry. So usually I'm only doing about a liter with the 3 reel, but this is a 5 reel. So we're going to do 2 of these CineStill C-41 processing kits. We're going to mix all this chemistry up, and we're going to prep everything to begin processing film. So that's what today is. Today I'm going to prep all these chemicals to get ready, and I'm going to show you guys how I do that. This is the 2 sets of the color developer chemistry from CineStill, and this is the bleach fix, the Blix part of the chemistry. Very important not to mix those 2 up. I'm using these 2 data tainers by Delta 1. They're just half-gallon jugs. They have these cool parts you can write on. You can do directions, you could do the date you mix, the dilution, and you can write notes and all that stuff. These are really cool for long-term storage because they're black, no light gets through them, and I'm going to be filling them all the way up so there won't be any air in them either. So these chemicals should last a good amount of time, but they're not really going to, because I'm going to immediately use this to process 28 rolls of film, which is about half its capacity. I'm assuming if we double up on chemistry kits, the capacity doubles, but that's just my stupid brain making assumptions. I have no idea if that's true or not. You'll notice I'm not using CineStill's final rinse bath. That's because this is just hexamine, which is the same main chemical ingredient in Kodak PhotoFlow, which I also have. I'm just going to use PhotoFlow instead, because I don't have another big ass tank. So the first thing we got to do, we got to consult these instructions here. Now, CineStill's awesome. Arista does this as well, and so do the other chemical mix kits. They all come with some kind of instructions, but they just tell you right here exactly what you need to make. If you're making a pint, a quart, or a gallon. Well, I'm making half a gallon, so I'll do half of what it says. So if I'm doing half a gallon, it's going to be 40 ounces because it's half of 80 ounces. I'm a genius. And that's to mix the developer. And then it shows you how to do that here. Same thing with the Blix, same thing with the final rinse bath. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this up with 40 ounces of water from my tap. No, I'm not going to use distilled water. I could. I know a lot of people do. A lot of people are very adamant about using distilled or purified water to do their film. And to those people, I say, I salute you. You have much more stuff figured out than I do. In reality, I've never seen a difference between using distilled water and tap water, even like hard water. It hasn't really made a difference. I haven't noticed any differences, and I'm not going to bend over backwards and get distilled water if I don't need to. So, tap water. They say that you should mix the water to for the developer for 120 degrees. So I'm going to heat this up to 120 degrees using my sous vide. And this, my friends, I've been using this for a couple of years. This is my sous vide. I mean, as in that's the name of it. It's called my sous vide. I got this on Amazon. I think it was like $45. It's accurate to within 2 degrees. I think I've measured over time, and it's fine. It works perfectly fine for me. It has a little timer if you want to use it. I never use it. I use the Massive Dev Chart app, which is great. For temperature, I have this crappy Harbor Freight thermometer, and it's not really crappy. It's waterproof, which is pretty much all I need, but it would be nice if it were a little bit faster with the readout. But other than that, it's great. This is what I use to make sure the temperature is like dead on. So this is about a degree and a half off. This is dead accurate to real life temperature. So this is what I use for that. So yeah, I'm going to use my sous vide cooker to warm up the water to the correct temperature, and then as this is circulating the water in the beaker or the graduated pitcher, I will add the different stages, and that way it'll be mixing continuously, so I don't have to worry about mixing it. This is the process I use to make all of my chemicals, ECN2, C-41, E6. So I've been doing this a long time, so I'm pretty much used to it, but I thought I'd invite you guys along to enjoy the ride. So let's get started. You'll notice that I covered my table with this very attractive towel. If you spill anything, it's not great. It could leave stains, especially the Blicks. So I always put a towel down, and I also you always want to wear gloves and eye protection. I'm wearing glasses. I should probably wear like safety glasses, but these will do. And these are chemical resistant gloves, which are probably a little overkill, but you can get dish gloves if you want. That works as well. I have to use these because these are the only gloves I could find that are my size because I have really big hands. I don't know if you see that, extra large. All right, let's get some water. I'm very lucky that the water coming out of my tap is right at 120 degrees, which is just super helpful. So I set up my sous vide up like so, and then I want it to be 120 degrees. I want it to stay there, circulate there. So I'm going to put it 121 degrees because that's about the variance for the sous vide as far as measuring temperature. That beep means we've reached 120 degrees. So carefully, I'm going to add each step of the color developer. So the first step is part A, obviously. And then as it's being poured in, it's circulating because of the sous vide. It's so nice. The temperature's gone down a bit because we added room temperature liquid to hot liquid. So I'm going to give that a second to come up to temperature and then go to part B. Okay, yeah, we're about there. Okay. So this is part B. The thing about these chemicals is that some of them, when they interact for the first time, can have an endothermic reaction, which means they'll get really hot and release some energy via heat, which can cause it to bubble up or steam. So you just got to be careful when you're adding chemicals together. Oh. Okay, that one's safe. Okay, part B is in. Now part C. So yeah, like I said before, the really cool thing about doing it with the immersion cooker is that it's circulating the mixture for you. So you don't have to worry about mixing. You just have to make sure you're adding the chemicals in the correct order and carefully, and the sous vide does the rest. Sick. Okay. The color developer is mixed. It is up to temperature. I can't tell if it's warm because I'm wearing really heavy acid resistant gloves. Now I'm going to add it to the data tainer and label it, which is super important. Okay. C-41 Dev, which stands for developer. I'm going to take my gloves off for this part because it's really hard to write wearing acid-resistant gloves. Date mixed. Today is March 10th, 2021. And that's pretty much it as far as information. And that is half a gallon or just about 2 liters of C-41 developer. Now let's do the Blix. You want to be really deliberate and careful and make sure you wash everything thoroughly between steps because, like I said before, you don't want to cross-contaminate chemicals that are not the right ones because that can cause problems. So just be careful. Okay, everything's thoroughly cleaned. For our Blix, we would need 72 gallons. So we would need 72 ounces, but we're doing half a gallon. So we're going to do 36 ounces of water at 125 degrees. So we're going to have to warm this water up a little bit with the sous vide before we can add the chemicals. But yeah, 36 ounces. Here we go. Okay, we're going for 125 degrees this time. So I'm going to do 126 on the thermostat and let that go for a little bit. So the cool thing about mixing your own chemicals and processing your own film, there's nothing wrong with labs. In fact, I think we need to support our film labs and make sure that we can keep them for as long as possible and that they're going to stay in business because they're super important if we want to keep film alive. But I think that being able to mix your own chemicals and develop your own film, especially at home, is it really makes you invested in the process and invested in your photographs. If I don't mix these chemicals properly and I go and I process 6 rolls of film and I ruin them because I didn't do this right, that sucks. I can't go back and shoot those 6 rolls from this road trip. I have to live with the fact that I didn't do this right. Luckily, this is really easy if you take your time and you're careful. And then you have your own chemicals to process your own film at home, which is an incredibly rewarding process. But if you're watching this video, I'm pretty sure you already know and are already interested in processing film at home. So you don't need the whole spiel from me, probably. Okay, we're up to temperature. So let's go with part A of the Blix. So Blix is nasty stuff. It's bleach and fixer together in a hybrid solution that allows you to both bleach your film and fix your film in one step rather than 2. It's really handy, but it's nasty. You don't want to get this on your hands or your face or your eyes or your mouth or your genitalia or your clothes or anything. You don't want to get this on anything. It's really not great. Part 1 is ammonium thiosulfate and sodium sulfite. I don't know what those do, but they don't sound great. So that's going in first, very carefully pouring that in, not keeping my face that close to it. The Blix is kind of a heavier solution, or the chemicals that come in the Blix are a bit heavier than what comes in the color developer. So when you're pouring them in, you can actually kind of see, in a way, the heavier solution mixing into the water, which is kind of neat. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that. But if you were sitting here and looking really close, you could see the heavier chemical being kind of like mixed in to create a solution. Science is cool. Okay, part B. Oh man, that ammonium. Woo! Smells. This is acetic acid, which is an acid. You respect these chemicals. So this process, or this step, I believe, is the step that is the one that is most likely to have an endothermic reaction. So let's see. Maybe not. It might be the ferric ammonium, which is the final step. Okay, starting to change. It's getting a little bit of a opaque kind of look to it. We're still at 125, so we're going to go ahead and start putting in the ferric ammonium EDTA. This stuff looks like blood, and the safety seal in here is like polymer, which is hard to like cut through, which leads me to believe this is like the really nasty stuff. So let's see how this goes. It's thick too. Okay, here's the last bottle. Oh, look, I can just peel it off. I've been using the point of my thermometer like an ogre. So the bottles, the empty bottles, they can't be recycled like normal plastic like you'd think, because they have a lot of chemicals in them, and you'd have to rinse them and wash them really, really well and dry them to be acceptable for the recycler. You can take these to wherever you go to recycle your used up film chemicals. They'll take those as well. I want to say also, there are people out there who will say it's okay to like dump this into the toilet or down the drain. I don't think you should do that. I think that it's just better practice to go find a hazardous materials recycling center in your area, which every city has one, at least one. I'm in Los Angeles, so there's a bunch. There's also a bunch in the Bay Area where I lived. Every time that my chemicals are exhausted, they go into a gallon jug or something else that I don't need, and I take it down to the recyclers, and they recycle it for me, and I don't have to worry about it being dumped into the ocean and giving a sea turtle cancer or something. Okay. So this one, C-41 Blix, mixed March 10th, 21. All right, that's it. I need to clean up and rinse things off and then put these guys away, and get ready to start processing the tens of rolls of film that I shot. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Film Supply Club for sponsoring this video and providing me with the film I needed for this trip. If you guys want to see the photos that I took on this trip, please make sure you come back and keep an eye out for the videos coming out. Lots of videos coming out that will be covering the entire road trip, all the photos I took, all the places we were, and there's tons of footage, tons of photos. It's going to be cool. So thank you guys. I appreciate all the support, and I'll see you soon. Bye. This video was sponsored by Film Supply Club. When you're a member of Film Supply Club, you get access to discounted film prices. You can choose which tier of membership you want based on how much film you shoot every month. You also have access to discounts on vintage film cameras that are tested in-house. Film Supply Club also has a really awesome YouTube channel, which is a really great resource if you're trying to learn more about film photography, especially from someone who's a professional film photographer like Braden Flynn, where he takes you through his techniques and shows you what it's like to be a professional film photographer. Also having conversations with other professional film photographers that you might find really awesome and entertaining. Go check out Film Supply Club right now at the link in my description.